Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Modern Gaming Weekly podcast. I love a good video game and occasionally a cheesy video game movie. I've been sitting around and playing some Street Fighter lately, and I thought, why not all of us just sit around a Discord server and watch one of the cheesiest, most entertaining video game movies of all time? You guessed it, I'm talking about Street Fighter starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. The roundhouse kicking star of the 80s and 90s plays Colonel Guile in the Street Fighter adaptation across from fellow actor Raul Julia. So sit back and relax as we dive into Street Fighter, the movie. I promise it's not as bad as you may remember. Hey, and welcome to episode number 4 of the Modern Gaming Weekly podcast. I am the Able Geek, Able himself, and I am joined today with Brown Baymax and Bento Box Senpai. And we are going to be talking about a video game-based movie today, which is going to be Street Fighter, the 1994 film. And so we watched this last night, guys. First off, just what are your thoughts after watching this movie? Did you watch it previous to us watching it together? And what were your thoughts on it?
I watched it previously. Don't get me wrong, I watched it when I was younger. So,
Same.
I mean, I loved it when I was younger, but looking at it now in 2021, looking at it right now, it's super cheesy. Like, it has that 90s aspect of it.
Definitely. Yeah, same here, dude. Like, I watched it when I was younger. It was cooler when I was younger, but now rewatching it as an adult, like, you see a lot of the things that, differentiates itself from action movies now.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think when you watch it when you're a kid, there's you grow up and there's like that nostalgia factor with it, and I think that's why I always I can't say I love the movie after watching it as a kid, but I did like it. Watching it now, there's still some of that nostalgia, but it oh man, it is super cheesy. There's some parts that are real cringy in there, and there's some parts that I thought were pretty cool. I mean, that kind of like I felt like they were cheesy, but it kind of played it nicely with the movie.
I mean, the acting from Van Damme was was a little questionable and cheesy.
Yeah, it was.
Dude, all his acting in all his movies is like that. But I think this one, he probably had more one-liners. I think it was kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger-ish in that aspect, where I think he just had a lot of cheesy one-liners. I personally, I like it. I like some of the one-liners. Like, it was a bit much in this movie, but he had some classic lines.
But he was trying to portray as an American.
Yeah, he didn't fit like his Guile, I guess, is that the Air Force, big buff. I mean, he's a buff dude, but he just didn't come off as the character Guile from Street Fighter. He came off as a pretty cool character in the movie, but just definitely wasn't Guile in my eyes.
Yeah.
And so, like, what was I know, like, thinking about doing this podcast for this particular movie, we're thinking about different video game movies to do them on, and I've always been a big Street Fighter fan, and I've been trying to get my hands on Street Fighter. I think it's called Street Fighter Ultra: The Final Challengers for Switch, which has been a little bit of a rare game to find lately.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Also the other one that came out recently, which was the was it the Street Fighter Collection, I believe?
The 30th anniversary one?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. So, I still like playing Street Fighter to this day. I think Third Strike being my favorite. But what was your guys' experience with Street Fighter growing up?
With Street Fighter growing up, I played a lot of, I think it was on the Genesis. I think it was Street Fighter 2 or 3. I want to say it was 2, because I don't think 3 came out for the Genesis. From there, I mean, I would just play that constantly with my brother or with my uncle. And I mean, I was little, so I would get smacked a lot. So I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, for me, it was more of like a Street Fighter 3 and 4. I used to play it like in Alberto's, like down the street from my house. Like, I'd save up all my quarters and me and my friends would go. Or like we would play it at Infinity Arcade in SoCal. That's when I really got into it. favorite character was like E Honda, bro. Like throughout the whole thing, you know. And that's the thing too with the Street Fighter movies; they didn't give him enough exposure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't really figure out it was E Honda up until like, oh, aren't you E Honda from Japan? It's like, oh, okay, that's E Honda, but he doesn't really look like E
I
Honda.
don't think they even said he was from Japan. They said that he was from Hawaii.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Oh,
Yeah.
my mistake. I was like, dude, he's supposed to be from Japan, not
From
Hawaii. Like,
Japan.
Yeah. He was a Samoan sumo.
yeah,
But yeah, I think they could have. I mean, that actor, I think he did a decent job as E Honda, even though, again, it's not. It doesn't really. He's not really portrayed as the exact kind of character from the video game.
yeah,
But I like at the end how they kind of he had the blood kind of going through his face, and it kind of looked like the makeup he wears in the game. I don't
right.
know if they did that on purpose or if that was maybe just like a something that had just happened. But I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, Honda, one of the coolest ones in the game. How about you, Baymax? Who's your go-to in Street Fighter?
It'll be Honda.
Honda
So
also.
yeah, throw those palm fists, man. Just sit there and just spam that.
Yeah, mine. I was always like Ryu or Ken, but if I wanted to go cheap, dude, I was picking Blanca and just doing the electric attack over and over again.
I would hate you forever.
Yeah, I would play like Ryu throughout the game, and then when I got to Bison, I could never beat Bison with Ryu, so I'd put another quarter in, pick Blanca, and just take him out real cheap style, just keep shocking him until he died.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you cheater.
Dude, Vega was the hardest, I think, to play.
He
Like,
was,
even
yeah,
though he was like pretty good, like DPS, dude, like he was the hardest to play, in my opinion.
Yeah, after you get your claw knocked off or your mask,
Yeah,
you're
dude, it's
like,
like, what do I do now?
I think he was hard to play with, and he was also difficult to play against in the game, just
Yeah,
because he was real unpredictable and fast with his movements. But yeah, I thought it was. I mean, I had a lot of fun with the game growing up. Did you guys ever play the original Street Fighter? Because I know, like, the Street Fighter 2 arcade was the big one that we got here in the U.S., but they had the original Street Fighter, which didn't look like any of the newer Street Fighter games. I don't know if you guys ever played that original one that
I
came out.
have,
I have
um,
not.
if I remember right, my grandfather's shop,
Hmm.
um, before before they closed it down, if I remember right, they had an original, what's it called? I think they imported it or something.
Yeah.
The freaking original Street Fighter arcade cabinet. I remember playing it.
That one, it was. I think the only time I ever found it was in a. It was one of those like kind of like MAME machines that have like 1,000 games on them or whatever,
Hmm.
and it had the original Street Fighter, and it was one of this old arcades I used to go to in a mall nearby, and so they had it there. But other than that, I don't think I ever played the original cabinet. But yeah, it wasn't as cool as the new Street Fighter games like Street Fighter 2 and 3. But I guess that's kind of like what set the foundation for it.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could have an original arcade cabinet for Street Fighter. That would be pretty dope to have.
And I think in that 30th anniversary collection, you can actually play it on there as well, the original Street Fighter.
I think so. I haven't picked it up yet.
So, just getting back to the actual movie here. So, it came out in 1994. I was looking at the some of the information on it. It was directed by Stephen E. DeSouza. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. And I was kind of looking at some of the other movies he did. He did movies like 48 Hours, Commando, The Running Man, Beverly Hills Cop 3, Judge Dredd.
Hmm.
He also did the Tomb Raider movie in the early 2000s. So he did do some credible work on there. I guess Street Fighter, some of his early work, probably low budget. I heard most of the budget was supplied by Capcom, so everything kind of had to go through them, get approved through them.
Yeah,
Which I don't know if it hurt the movie or if it,
but
you
it was a
know,
pretty big budget though. It was a $35 million budget.
Yeah,
for early '90s, that's probably pretty good. Yeah, I don't know what that would be like with inflation in today's standards, but it's probably a pretty penny to make a movie.
Yeah,
it's just with just looking at it, like most of the characters didn't match up with the movie,
Mhm.
like the original outfits or such. Like you sat there and you're going, oh, like okay,
Yeah, I like the way they did like Ryu and Ken's, how they were like bison, like soldier uniforms, and then they end
yeah,
up being the colors of Ryu and Ken's, which is kind of cool. They just tear off the patch. But yeah, some of them, yeah, they didn't match. And then like DJ was a villain in this. I always kind of picture like DJ as kind of like one of the good Street Fighters, like not as a villain character. In this one, he was kind of like the comedic relief. I liked it. That I guess brings into question: who do you think was portrayed the best in the movie compared to the game?
Oh, I really don't know. Like, that's hard. Other than, I would say Bison to a point. I mean, he tried keeping it in character. Raul kept trying to keep it in character, but I mean, it's hard because you don't get that much dialogue from Bison either from the games.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's one of the problems when you try to make a movie like Street Fighter, or even like other ones like Mario Brothers. There's not like a big backstory to it. I think at least in Street Fighter compared to maybe others like Mario Brothers, there's a little bit of a story there for each character, but you usually don't get a whole lot. So they probably have to fill in a lot with just writers kind of coming up with whatever.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's
Because Raul did a really good job as Bison.
mhm,
I think second place would be Ming Na Wen for Chun Li. She did
mhm.
pretty good. She did okay in a sense. And then I was a little bit disappointed with Dalsim. I was
Yeah.
pretty because like they just made him look like a fucking scientist, dude. I'm like, okay, like
Yeah,
you
I
know,
was confused like the whole movie. Like when I first watched it, I didn't even realize it was Dhalsim till like the last 10 minutes of the movie when he was
that's what I'm
bald.
saying. Like they never
Ye-
gave him a fucking cue.
Yeah, no yoga flame, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, for me, yeah, I think Chung Li with Ming Na Wen was. I mean, she did a great job. I think for Chung Li, probably given the script and limited information on the character. That
Yeah.
probably here's Street Fighter. Play this for 5 minutes, and now you're this character. I don't
And
know how much.
there wasn't that many female Asian roles at the time during that time either. So like
Yeah,
it was very limited. Not like now where there's a whole bunch of female Asian characters that could be portrayed as Chun Li.
yeah. I think for like myself, I think Zangief was portrayed the best.
Yeah, is
He,
it?
I wanted to mention.
dude, he looked. I feel like he looked exactly like he did in the game.
He acted like him too.
Oh
Yeah,
my god, he was
just like a
so stupid, but it's so funny.
just like a big dumb brawler. But yeah, I think he was also another kind of comedic character. I think he did a great job. Worst probably Dulcim. I didn't get the decision whether I went there. And then Ken also, his character was okay, but it didn't look like Ken. I don't feel like the character's attitude was kind of like what you would see Ken in the video game or like the animated movies or anything like that. It was uh, kind of totally different. Ryu and Ken, I think both kind of just being these guys that they're like dealing with guns and selling guns to criminals and stealing from them. It's I didn't get it. I feel like they kind of just wrote that in just to kind of give them,
A
I guess,
backstory.
some kind of
Yeah.
backstory. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's how I feel like most of the video game movies are. It's not based on its actual premise. It's always like some twisted premise or something like that.
Yeah, they changed something just to kind of I guess put their own twist on it or whatever. But and then what do you guys think about now it is now keep in mind it was early 90s,
Hmm.
didn't have a giant budget. What do you guys think about Blanca in the movie?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
What's his name? Carrot Top on steroids.
Like, how could you do that, man? So wrong.
Dude, I don't know.
Looks like Carrot Top got hit with gamma rays, dude. That's what it looks.
Like, freaking Blanca is supposed to be like somewhat, buff and hunched over, but still, like, how can you do this, man? Wrong.
Yeah, I guess they did kind of what they could. It could have been better. Probably more prosthetics.
Yeah.
It just kind of looked like a cheap version of the old Hulk movie.
But yeah, I
Oh,
mean, it
Lou
was early.
Ferrigno.
It was early '90s. I mean, Luke Ferrigno. But yeah, it was early '90s. I mean, you can't do anything about that. Like they had a certain budget, there was only a certain type of like way to film live
Yeah.
action, fighting game movies, but still, like you were limited on what's now like if they were to like remake the movie, yeah, I could see them using a bunch of CGI and all this other crap.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think nowadays it's definitely cheaper. Like you can get somewhere of like a similar budget and probably come out with even better movie because the CGI and computer effects that they can add to it now, so much better and cheaper compared to back then where you look at Bison's like lightning effects when he was shooting lightning from his hands, it looked pretty bad, but it still probably cost a decent amount back then in the early 90s to produce something like that. So
A lot of
Yeah.
pixels.
yeah, they had those Super Nintendo graphics added to.
The FX freaking chip on it.
And just so speaking about a sequel, would you guys want to see a sequel to this movie, or do you think there should have been a sequel? 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I
What do
feel
you guys
like
think about that?
there should have been a sequel anytime between 10 years ago and now. I feel like it would be a lot better and portrayed a lot better, especially with the kind of technology that we have now, you know?
I mean, a sequel would have been fantastic, but I don't think they would have been able to use the same what's it called? The same actors because I mean, you age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because I remember that they were trying to do a sequel with Dolph Lundgren, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
mhm.
And that didn't pan out too well.
Dolph Lundgren, dude. That would have been
Yeah.
another movie with him and Van Damme because they did Universal Soldier together.
Ah,
Um,
okay. Because it would
Never
have
seen
been,
it.
it would have came out in '03, if
oh, okay.
anything. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Street Fighter 2, that was a canceled movie.
Hmm.
We were talking about that earlier. Like, I mean, if it would have came out in '03, understandable. But
Yeah.
like, if it would have came out now, you're like, you're like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah. I think now at this point, you couldn't really do like a true sequel to it. You'd probably have to do like a remake just because, yeah, the actors, whoever's still around, is probably up there in age now. And, Van Damme's still making movies, but,
He's still
unless
making movies?
Hmm.
he's still doing it. Yeah, he's still knocking them out.
Jesus Christ. I did not know that.
But yeah, so yeah, I would like to see one maybe 5 to 10 years after the original, but
Hmm.
now I think they would have to do a remake, and they've come out with other Street Fighter movies. I don't know if you guys saw the Chung Li one. It's called The Legend of Chung Li, I believe,
Yeah.
and that one was okay. Probably maybe even a little worse than, than this movie, but
Yeah. It didn't do too well.
it didn't. Yeah, the only thing I did like is they had the character or the actor that played Balrog was that big dude that played Kingpin from Daredevil. I forget his name. Was it Michael
Oh,
Clark Duncan? I think.
Yeah, Michael Clark Duncan, correct.
Yeah, and he was Balrog, and I think he made like a perfect Balrog because he was so huge. Like, and
Yeah, dude.
I mean, the Balrog that we got in the Street Fighter movie was not. He wasn't buff or anything like that.
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like he kind of looked. I mean, maybe you could just because they had the outfit and the haircut, but
I
other
was
than
about to
that,
say that hairline though.
they could have got Mike Tyson to do Balrog back in the old movie.
Thought he
They
could talk
probably
like
could
this.
have.
Oh, they could have dubbed him. They could have just put a dub. He could have sounded like, yeah.
And they could have had like Chun Li if they recasted it. Who's that girl from the 007 series? I think The
Mhm.
World Is Not Enough. I forgot her name. Michelle something. Let me
I
see.
have no clue.
To play as Chung Li.
Yeah,
Because Chun Li is so. I mean, Chun Li. I mean, she's thick thighs.
yeah, she was not
Like,
thick thighs there.
no,
Oh, Michelle
like
Yeoh, that's her name. Michelle Yeoh.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Chung Li has those really like huge built legs, dude. Like,
yeah,
like that was her. Like that was Chun Li. Like when you got
yeah.
hit with that leg, but the way that they did freaking Chun Li in this, like she was an okay actress. Not gonna lie,
Yeah.
she was an okay actress. But when did Chun Li become a ninja and was running around in that movie?
Right.
Yeah, she was pulling out some of her ninjutsu skills.
Oh
You know,
God.
just circling back to Balrog. I don't know if you guys know, but the original like bosses of Street Fighter, Bison was originally going to be the name M Bison was going to be Balrog, the boxer character, and
Really?
it was supposed to be a play on Mike Tyson. So you had Mike Tyson and M Bison. So it's supposed to kind of sound like this, like the same name, and he's a boxer. I think it had something to do with when Mike Tyson was getting in trouble around that time. They switched up the
Uh,
characters. So I think Bison was originally going to be called Vega, and then I think
oh.
Vega was going to be called Balrog, and
Oh, they
then
tried to do a switcheroo.
so they just kind of switched the names around. Yeah, I think to kind of not associate the boxing character with Mike Tyson at that point. And they did the same thing like with Mike Tyson's Punch Out. They changed it to just Punch Out back in the day. So that's why we have two
Okay.
variants of that as well. But I always thought that was an interesting thing as well when it comes to the bosses in Street Fighter.
Yeah. I mean, didn't they add more characters to Street Fighter after the first few games?
Yeah, I know they did the new challengers, which they added like T Hawk, who they had in the movie as well.
Mhm.
He didn't really do much, but he didn't have a big role. He wasn't like a big buff guy. In the game, he's huge. He's like as big as Zangief, but in the movie, he was like this scrawny dude. So I don't know what they were trying to do there, but they had, yeah. So T Hawk, they had Fei Long. I think Cammy was in the new challengers, and DJ. I think also. I think it was those four.
hmm
And they had all of them in the movie except Fei Long. I guess they could have fit everybody except Fei Long.
Poor Fei Long.
He's a cool character too. I think he was kind of mocked after Bruce Lee.
I think
So
so.
I definitely did.
he's a cool character. Did you guys ever play the game, the video game based off of the movie?
No, I didn't know there
There's
was
a
a.
video game based off of the movie.
There is, yeah. I know it came out. It was an arcade game, and I know it came out for Sega Saturn. I don't know if it came out for any other system. I think maybe PlayStation, but I could be wrong there. But for sure, it came out for Sega Saturn and arcade, and they did it Mortal Kombat style. So the characters are actually modeled off the actors in the movie.
Oh God!
That
Yeah,
sounds horrible.
yeah, it's actually a decent game. It's okay. It, probably
What
better than the
Street
movie.
Fighter is it?
It's called Street Fighter, the movie, the game, I believe.
Can
Yeah, I
be
know.
more original.
Oh my God!
And I think in the game you can actually, those like the foot soldiers that Bison had, the ones that would wear those red outfits. I
Right.
think you can actually play as one of those guys in the game as like a character you can fight with.
Oh my Lanta.
I would
I'm
not be
looking at
able
it
to.
now and like it looks like a really bad version of the movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I actually want it for Sega Saturn, so maybe when we go out to Classic Game Fest here in a few weeks, maybe I can
Uh-huh.
find it out there.
If you find out, I'm gonna laugh so hard.
We got to play it.
Yeah, dude, we'll come back and play. I got a Saturn. We can play it. But yeah, so we'll see. But it was an interesting game. I know it wasn't that popular, but I figure like if you're gonna play Street Fighter, you might as well play like Street Fighter 2 or 3,
Mhm.
not Street Fighter the movie, the game.
Right.
I that would just be cringy.
Yeah, and like as far as comparison to other video game movies that you've seen, like I mean, there's Mario Brothers, probably one we still got to watch because Bento said he hadn't seen that one.
Yeah.
So we'll need to definitely watch Mario Brothers at some point. But there's the Resident Evil movies, Silent Hill, Tomb Raider.
Mortal
There's so many
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. There's so many other video game based movies out there. How would you say the Street Fighter in comparison to those?
On a scale of what?
Do you think it's? Would you say it's towards the top of the list, bottom of the list, middle?
Mm.
Mid-ish.
Yeah, like a
Like-
solid 4.5.
Yeah.
Maybe a soft 4.
Yeah, no, like if I had to choose between like say Street Fighter and Mario Brothers,
Yeah.
Mario Brothers would come higher than Street Fighter.
Yeah. I think those are two movies that probably came out around the same time, right? I think maybe Street Fighter came out a little later, I believe, 94. Mario Brothers, I think, might have been a couple of years before, maybe. But
Mario Brothers, I think, came out first.
yeah,
Then what's it called? Then Street Fighter. I think
Because I
it
yeah.
know
came
that
out.
there's also a Japanese The Street Fighter that came out in 1974 with Sonny Cheetah.
Oh yeah, dude. Those are classics.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
do
if that
want to watch that one
inspired.
too.
I don't know if those inspired the game at all, but those were some pretty good movies.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Yep.
Mario Brothers came out in '93,
93. Okay,
Oh.
so
so they were 1 year apart.
a year before.
That's
And
funny.
a lot of people like shit on Mario Brothers, but I think it's hard to make a movie off Mario Brothers. Like, how trippy is that freaking world? You know what I mean? Like, you, you uh, how do you come up with a story for that other than you're a plumber and you're fighting Bowser and you got to fill in the rest?
Right.
So I think Mario Brothers was pretty good. I won't get into it too much because at some point maybe we'll do a episode on it. But um, yeah, I would say Mario Brothers probably better than Street Fighter if I had to put them
Oh
on a
yeah,
scale. Like Street Fighter for me, I would say because there's a lot of video game movies out there, and I feel like a lot of them aren't that great. Usually the budgets are a little low. Um,
like Monster Hunter.
Oh,
yeah, and they're okay, but they're not great. I feel like Street Fighter is maybe in the middle of the pack for me. And it's definitely the one that probably holds a lot of nostalgia. Like I don't care, like there's no nostalgia when I look at movies like Tomb Raider or Resident Evil other than being disappointed. You know, but Street Fighter, I guess, because I was such a big Street Fighter fan as a kid, and then growing up or watching the movie, and then kind of growing up with it. I think that's what holds it a little higher is that nostalgia factor. But I think if you were to watch the movie for the first time now, you're probably like, "Oh, this sucks."
Like like yeah, it sucks. Like looking at it, it's like it sucks, and you're like, but back then, like if you're watching it from back then, you're like, oh, this is like the coolest thing out there.
bro,
Yeah.
Yoshi looks a little terrifying to me.
Oh, in the Mario Brothers movie,
Sheesh.
he looks like a straight like baby raptor, dude.
Like a velociraptor.
Not cartoony at all, dude.
But you can't write it.
Yeah.
Oh, you goddamn.
Did you guys ever watch the Street Fighter the animated movie? Also came out. I think it probably came out around '94. Also,
The animated movies, yes, I've seen those.
yeah,
Those are pretty good.
Yeah, those are actually really good. The first, I want to say it's the first animated movie that came out. I think it was '94. Is the one that got me into the band Korn growing up because at the end, Ryu and Bison are about to go at it for the second time, and then they cut into the song "Blind" from Korn. And I think I was like maybe like 9 years old at the time, and that's what
You're
got
like,
me into it.
yeah.
I was like, "That's so cool." Yeah, they had some good ones though, as far as the animated movies.
I think my favorite one of my favorite animated movies is the one that where they introduced Akuma.
Would that be
Oh
Alpha
yeah,
Generations? No.
Alpha, yeah, Street Fighter Alpha.
Hmm.
That was in 05, yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite ones.
That's a good
Yeah,
one.
that's when they introduced Akuma.
Yeah, like
Such
he
a
was
cool
such a
character, dude.
badass. He was such a badass. He was sitting there and like he's kicking ass, but like he had the same teacher as Ryu.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I get that name is escaping me now. Ryu's teacher's name
Oh, I don't remember on the top of my
was
head
it
on that one.
was it Goken? I'm not sure.
I think Gyoken. Yeah, I think it was Gyoken, yeah.
Something like that.
Something like
Um,
that.
I think maybe like Akuma and maybe the second they did a sequel to the Street Fighter movie would have been cool. See Van Damme go up against
Akuma.
Akuma, yeah, or Ryu, but Ryu, I guess he wasn't like the the main like protagonist in this movie, so they
Yeah.
went with Van Damme. I think had Van Damme not taken that role,
Mhm.
I think they probably would have went with Ryu as the main character.
So
Yeah.
Van Damme was the main character in the, like, it was so hard to follow if who
It
was
was
the main
just all over the
character.
place. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was kind of all over the place.
because they
Yeah,
showed Van Damme, then they showed Chun Li, and then they showed Ryu and Ken. Like, it was hopping all over the place, and you're like, who's the main character in this movie?
I think they try to fit all the Street Fighter characters in, which was probably a mistake. They probably should have stuck to the original. What was it, maybe like 8 Street Fighters they had from the game plus the villains?
Yeah,
So like, yeah, like Ryu, Ken, E Honda, Dalsim, Blanca, Chung Li, Zangief, and then have like maybe not even do all of the shuttle law bosses. Maybe just have like they could have maybe had like Sagat. Sagat's like a big villain in the game and in the animated movies. He's a tough
they
character. Like
should have.
they didn't have to, unless they maybe thought this is a one and done, and we're gonna cash in on this and just never even try to make a sequel to it. Let's just
Uh,
throw in all the characters at once.
But remember, video games were on the rage on that, like, back in the 90s,
That's
because
true.
you had the Super Nintendo, you had the NES, Sega
mhm.
Genesis, Sega CD, and all this other stuff, and Neo Geo. Like, you had all those, so people were like, they were getting out of the video game, crash, and they're finally getting people are getting back into playing games and such.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, arcades were still huge at that time.
Hmm.
Um, and the Nintendo and then going on to Super Nintendo kind of revitalized the game market. So yeah, I think a lot of these companies were like, hey, let's make adaptations of these like film adaptations of these games and cash in. I'm sure was like the main the main goal, but without sugarcoating it. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, they made a lot of different video game movies, which I think that it's good to do. And there's been some out there that I think are really good, like the Warcraft movie. I thought was really good. Had a decent budget.
Never seen that movie.
That one's good. And the thing I liked about that one is it starts like at the very kind of beginning of not even World of Warcraft, but of like the
Mhm.
original Warcraft. So even if you never play the games, it kind of takes you to the very beginning. But
Okay.
and that of course has a lot more lore than Street Fighter. But
Right.
so it's probably easier to make a watchable movie with something like that versus Street Fighter. But how
Should
about
do a
like Street
video
Fighter
game movie
versus?
night.
Yeah, dude. I'm always down for video game movies. How about Street Fighter? This Street Fighter movie versus the Mortal Kombat movie that came out. I think it was like 95,
Oh, I
96.
think I remember
Oh,
watching that, dude.
so if I had to choose between, I would go with Mortal Kombat, hands
Yeah,
down.
definitely.
Like, yeah, it was cheesy, but there was so much action. Like, you could follow along the movie. Like, you know
Yeah,
who it was.
I thought the movie for Mortal Kombat was really really good, and I think compared to Street Fighter, yeah, I think it blows Street Fighter out of the water.
Oh,
Uh,
by hands
I think
down.
they're both watchable, but Mortal Kombat, I felt like there's people that criticize Mortal Kombat, the movie, that original one that came out, but I feel like it's one of the better video game based movies that's out there.
The
Most of the
Highlander.
characters look like the characters.
Yeah,
Like Raiden, freaking, oh, what's his name?
Mhm.
Raiden
Oh,
yeah, it was cool. Christopher Lambert, I believe, the Highlander.
oh,
Melina.
oh my God.
Liu Kang, dude,
Uh,
looked like
Liu
freaking Liu
Kang.
Kang. Yeah,
What's it called? Jax looked pretty dope. Who am I missing? And it's
Mhm.
escaped me his name. Melina.
yeah.
But
Well,
no,
they came out at like Jackson Molina. I think they were in the
the second
Shao
the
one.
Kahn was
sequel.
in there too, or
Yeah,
no? Right?
Yeah.
that one. That one, although
Okay.
it did have a
Yeah, I
lot more
definitely
characters,
remember that
I
then.
thought was even cheesier though.
Yeah, when
I think
the fight with Scorpion and Sub Zero and what's his name? Reptile?
yeah, he was. So yeah, yeah, I would have to tip the hat over to Mortal Kombat if we had to throw those two against each other. But uh, what would you say is like looking back at Street Fighter the movie? What was
They did him like a
like your
bootleg
favorite
Captain
part versus
America,
your
dude.
least favorite part of the movie?
My least favorite part is with Blanca, man. They
Like
did him dirty.
Oh yeah.
just every segment with Blanca in it.
That was basically it. It's true because they hook him up to not even Captain
Mhm.
America, freaking what was it, the Winter Soldier, right there, freaking brainwashing him, and then every time he would what was it, see something terrifying like mass killings and such
Mellow
on when they
yellow.
were doing the educational thing,
Yeah.
he was like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on?
They're pumping him full of like
Yeah.
Surge and High C and at
Mellow
least that's what it
yellow.
looked like. Yeah, Mellow Yellow, and showing him like all these hate crimes and stuff that are going on, and he's just like it's turning him evil. Like that was so cheesy. Like it couldn't just be like connecting something to his brain and it's making him evil. It had to be these like images they got off of like 1995 YouTube. It's just like 1995 internet. They're just feeding them like shitty like MPEG files.
Oh my god.
But and what's your favorite part though? Like, is there any part of the movie you felt like, hey, they did a really
I
good
think
job with?
I think my favorite part, I think it was when Balrog and Honda when they were captive and they were just sitting there and the
Mm.
guy was just smacking Honda in the back. And he's
My
just standing
favorite
there
part is
just
when Chun
moving
Li's
his
in the room
fingers
with
around.
Bison,
Like, are you done yet?
and then she
Yeah.
tries to kick him, but the kick doesn't even look
Yeah,
like a
that
kick.
was pretty cool. I was able to
She kicks him through the
kind of like
glass, and
meditate
I'm
and get
just like,
out of the
bruh.
pain and stuff like that.
That made
Yeah.
How
me
about you,
laugh
Bento?
so hard. Yeah. I was like, that's such a corny line. Probably the worst part has to be Blanca, dude. That's really
Having that
bad,
whole
dude.
conversation.
That was because especially when they just showed Dalsim's face, it's just Dalsim, dude.
How about
Nothing
the
special about
like
him.
worst
He's
part of the
just
movie
the
for you?
guy.
Yeah, it's just all of
Oh.
Blanca.
Oh shit, you're right. Yeah.
So now, you know who
True,
they could have
true.
chose to do Blanca? Luke Ferrigno, because he was buff as all hell.
Yeah, that's true.
They
That's
could have used them, but no.
They could have got Arnold, dude. Arnold could have just he could have spit off the lines he did as Mr. Freeze.
Oh my god.
Nah, dude. Yeah. For me, I think the worst part has to be Blanca. Like I try to buy into it, and be like, oh, this is cool. But yeah, it was pretty hard to watch, especially, years later. It's kind of hard to watch Blanca in that movie.
Rep Blanca 2021.
Yeah. My favorite part is I think when Van Damme's giving his speech and then the guy from the AN is like, "Have you lost your mind?" And then you look at friggin' Guile just looks at him. He's like, "No, you lost your balls." Like that's like
Oh,
the
when they were,
classic line, dude, for me in the movie.
that's when we're getting into the speedboat, right?
Yeah, yeah. When he's giving his speech,
Oh my god.
that or they did that kind of like
Bison that
parody
shit was funny.
Godzilla fight with who was it, Zangief and E Honda when they're watching him on the monitor and it shows them and they're like fighting over Bison's like fake little city he made
Yeah.
and they're playing like the Godzilla sounds. Bisonopolis. Yeah. I think Raul Julia's
Yeah.
acting in that one.
Well, he had the facial
I think
features
he
for
kind of
Bison
like
too.
salvaged the movie.
He should have been bulkier.
I feel like he was like the best actor in there by far.
Now, if he was super
Mhm.
buff, then yeah, he would have pulled it off
Yeah.
guaranteed. Because he
Yeah.
was doing his role right.
I think they try
It's
to make him look
tastefully
like that
done.
with a suit, but it just looked like a big puffy suit on a skinny guy. I don't think anybody was buying that, but yeah, it is what it is. It was pretty fun. For anybody listening, would you recommend the movie?
As I'm watching Bento, like, but I mean, I would recommend it. But take it
Don't
with a
expect
grain
it
of
to be a
salt.
showstopper, dude.
Like,
Like
we're talking about
is
this is the
what they had
90s.
to
This
do
was
with what they had then.
the thing back then.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be like this CGI, all this stuff. No. Just take it with a grain of salt. It's a jaw dropper.
Yeah. For me personally, I think if you're a Street Fighter fan and you haven't seen it, then yeah, definitely watch it. You might, enjoy some of the parts of it. There has some funny parts. Some of the action's okay, but yeah, I would agree with like Baymax. Like, take it with a grain of salt.
Oh yeah.
Drink a beer while you're watching it. Take a beer off the pyramid and just kick back and enjoy it. Don't expect a lot from it, and I think you'd have fun with it. But
We should have did a drinking game with Van Damme cheesy lines.
every time he does a one-liner, you have to shotgun a beer.
Oh my god.
Dude, yeah. Well, we'll definitely have to do another video game movie night for another episode.
Yeah, enjoy its
But,
corniness in its entirety.
Any final thoughts on
Don't
this
expect
movie
a lot out of
as
it.
we wrap this one up?
Any final thoughts on it? Like, I don't have any final thoughts on it, but just to watch it, just enjoy it, have a good laugh, just watch it.
Yeah.
Soft 4.5.
1 to 10, what would you guys give it?
Like 1 to 10, like now or back in the 90s?
No, now, yeah. Watching it now, what would you give it?
I would give it a solid 5.
5, Bento?
Yeah.
I would give it
Don't get me wrong, dude. I love Van Damme, bro.
6.5, and I think that's probably a 1.5 for nostalgia.
Fire.
But a solid 6.5 for me. Yeah, I grew up a Van Damme fan and a Street Fighter fan, and even though the movie was super corny,
Yeah.
one of the best. Watch Bloodsport before this movie if you haven't seen it. If you're looking for old Van Damme movies to watch you haven't seen, watch Bloodsport, Kickboxer. Go down the list and then watch Street Fighter. You won't think less of Van Damme afterwards. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Modern Gaming Weekly podcast. We're 4 episodes in. We're still here. We'll be working on episode 5 next week. So stay tuned, guys. Brown Baymax, go ahead and let people know where they can find you on these socials.
You could find me on Instagram, brownbaymax.tv, or on Twitter, brownbaymax_TV, or on Twitch as brownbaymax.
Bento Box Senpai, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter as Bento Senpapi, and then on Twitch as Bento Box Senpai. I'm mostly active on those 2 platforms.
And you can find me on just about any social media as the Able Geek, most active on Twitch and Twitter. And also follow the Modern Gaming Weekly podcast on our Instagram, where we're putting up updates and some behind-the-scenes stuff. So go there and check it out. Give it a follow and some likes. Appreciate it.
And his OnlyFans.
And the OnlyFans. That's for another episode.
Oh my.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Later.
Man.